Fourth graders. For today's math lesson, we're learning more about what we started yesterday with adding and subtracting angle measures to find a greater angle measure or to find an unknown. So first, for adding angle measures, we just really take what we know and add them together to find the larger angle measure. So if we look at the example that they give us here, it says two angles can be put together to form another angle. This measure of the whole angle is the sum of the measures of the smaller angles. The measure of the whole angle shown is 105 degrees. So these two smaller angles here, this one is 75 and this one is 30. And when we put them together, we add those two angle measures to find the whole angle, and it's 105 degrees. So if we look at number one and number two, the first thing that we're gonna look at is what is the measure? And we wanna look at what the measure is first because we wanna make sure that we know what the measure is before we classify the measure. So when we take 45 degrees and we add it with 45 degrees, we should get 90 degrees. A 90-degree angle is a right angle, so we can go ahead and put right. And again, when we add 60 degrees with 30 degrees, we get 90 degrees, which is always going to be a right angle. So we can put those two, but again, if we had, 59 degrees plus 30 degrees, it looks like a right angle, but it's not because it would be 89 degrees, which is not 90 degrees, so it's not a right angle. So you want to add and find the measure first before you classify what kind of angle it is. When we take 90 and we add 90, we get 180. A 180 degree angle is always going to be a straight angle. So we can just put straight. And then we take 130 and add it with 50. And again, we get 180 degrees, which is a straight angle. Okay. Then this little word problem that they give us, an angle is made from two angles with measures of 80 degrees and 70 degrees. Write and solve an equation to find the measure of the whole angle. So again, an equation just like we learned, 80 degrees plus 70 degrees equals x, and x equals 150 degrees. Make sure you have your units, which is degrees. And then we could sketch it if we wanted to, or use our protractors. Might look something kind of like that. Put our arrows. Maybe not exact. Okay. So then when we're putting angles together and solving these questions, we want to look at the angle measures that they give us and making sure that we're using those correctly. And we also want to make sure that we're naming our angles correctly. Remember, the order of the letters doesn't matter. What matters most is that when you're naming an angle, that you have angle at the beginning, you have the angle symbol, and that you have the vertex letter as the middle letter of your angle name. So which two angles would you put together to make a 75-degree angle? So if you look at each of these measures, you want to find the ones that make the most sense to add together to equal 75 degrees. So when we take angle ABC and we add it to angle DEF, we should get 75 degrees. And we can check that on the side here. Angle ABC is 35 degrees. And angle DEF is 40 degrees. And if we do our math correctly, we should get 75 degrees. So I'll walk you through number 7, but really just let you do those on your own to check your own work and to see how you can put these angles together to create different angle measures, a larger angle measure. So on number 7, it says, which two angles would you put together to make a 145-degree angle? So we want to look, and again, we kind of have to do some guess and check here, use our logical brain, but there's only one way around it, and it's angle KLM, 95 degrees, and we add that with angle GHJ, which is 50 degrees. If you do your math correctly, you should get 145 degrees. So angle KLM and angle, so I forgot the angle symbol, angle GHJ. Okay, so let's do 8 through 10 on your own. But then 11, we want to use a protractor and a straight edge, okay, to draw the angle that we would create if we put ABC and KLM together. ABC and KLM. So angle ABC is 35 degrees and KLM is 95 degrees. So first, you might want to find the degree measure that you're measuring. And you should get 130 degrees. So just make sure when you use your protractor that you're showing angles ABC and KLM together in one angle. So like my rough sketch might look like 35 degrees, something like that. So this is ABC, and this would be KLM. And then you could rename the angle. All right, so now when we're subtracting angle measures, we did this a little bit yesterday with our reflex angle. So you take the whole, what you know the whole is, and they tell you, and you subtract what we know to find the unknown. So the measure of angle RST, and that's RS and then T, is 120. So that's the total. It's 120 degrees. We take away 75 degrees because we're looking for this unknown. So we subtract 75 degrees to find X, and X equals 45 degrees. And then you can double check your math by subtracting to the side here. Okay, so we'll do 13 together, and then again, just like the others, I'll let you do 14 and 15 on your own, and our answers are on our Google Classroom. So the measure of angle MNP is 130. That's our total. That's what we're going to start with. And we know that part of that whole is 40 degrees. So to find the unknown, we subtract. When we subtract X, we should get 90 degrees. When we look at 16, 17, and 18, 16, if you didn't do it on Zoom, you can create a problem and share it with a family member, maybe an older brother or sister, maybe even a younger brother and sister if they know how to add and subtract, or a parent or whoever's with you during the day. For 17, when a right angle is made from two smaller angles, what must be true about the smaller angles? If we go back to number 1 and 2, we have two right angles. for 1 and 2. They're both split into two smaller angles. Those angles with a right angle, anytime we split a right angle to find a sum of numbers to equal 90 degrees, they're going to be acute angles every time, because we can't get a right angle by adding any obtuse angles. It just won't ever work. Now, if we were subtracting, that would be different, but it says the right angle is made from two smaller angles, so they must be acute angles. Number 18, when a straight angle is made from two smaller angles, what must be true about the smaller angles? So if we look back up at 3 and 4, 3 is made of two right angles, and 4 is made of an obtuse angle and an acute angle. So a straight angle can't be made from two acute angles. It doesn't work. And a straight angle can't be made from two obtuse angles. Again, it doesn't work. But it can be made of either one obtuse angle and one acute angle, or two right angles. So I'll do bullet points. Two right angles, or one obtuse plus one acute. Okay. Now for Puzzled Penguin, he says, "Dear math students, I want to find the measure of angle DBE in the following diagram." So we have DBE. We have some knowns and we have an unknown. I wrote and solved this equation. The answer doesn't make sense. Did I do something wrong? Your friend Puzzled Penguin. So if we look at his equation, the original equation is correct. He's good so far on that. But then we look at step number 2, and for whatever reason, he's dropped the parentheses. So then when the parentheses are gone, we go from left to right. So technically his math is correct. However, he didn't solve the problem correctly. He should have left his parentheses there and added 60 plus 60 to get 120, and then subtracted 120 from 180. So it should look something like this. We'll do it up here. 180 minus 60 plus 60 equals X. And then 180 minus 120, because 60 plus 60 is in the parentheses, we start there, equals X. And then when you subtract 180, or 120 from 180, you should get 60 degrees. And we want to make sure to include our units. Okay. We write him a statement, an answer, maybe saying that you forgot to do what was inside the parentheses first, and add those two 60-degree angles to find the unknown by subtracting with 180. So just remember that even though we're in angles and we're looking at new things, we still have to build on what we've already learned together, and including, using parentheses and making sure that we're using what's inside first. Like I said, our answers are on Google Classroom, so if you need to double check anything, check there, they'll be up. And if you need any help, please let me know. I'll see you later.